We can go for 20 minutes if you want. But yeah, whatever they did to OBS, they basically changed it so it starts streaming automatically instead of, you know, hitting push to start on YouTube as well. Quite annoying. Okay, back to the PRP. Do you think it can straighten a curve induced by PE? No. It will, if anything, it will make it more pronounced because we're building up a lot of endothelial tissue. So that way that curve is going to cause it to actually accentuate more. At least that's what I noticed. So what you'd really need to do is just kind of do like straight down stretches a bit actually, and straight down hanging, and that would actually work the upwards curve from what I've noticed. Let's see, should I only do semi-erect bends in the opposite side of the curve or both? You should do it on both sides because you're gonna have a little bit of fibrosis on the curve side and on the bend side, if that makes sense. But you're gonna have more going towards the direction of the curve. So the inside of the curve is going to have more fibrosis than the outside. The curve is towards the left. Okay, that's a much easier fix than upwards curves, Nico. So literally, like I just said, you want to bend it just the opposite direction. I'm going to try to get some stuff done while you guys ask questions. How about that? I will be right back, actually. Alright, I am back. Does pumping with heat include hot water with the Hydromax? Depends how hot. Excuse me. Just ran up the steps, so give me a second, and it's raining outside. But, you need it to be like 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That might be kind of hot for skin, so play it by feel. Ugh. It doesn't make sense, guys. I do so much cardio and I still get out of breath running up the steps. (135°F). That seems pretty hot, but I'm not familiar with bath temperatures. Have you tried Shilajit for virility and testosterone? If you buy the resin caps, the powder form, it's mostly filler. It's in Vitality. So yes, I've noticed that I just get more blood flow to the area. I am looking into Cistanch on its own. I'm just going to add it to Vitality and see how that goes. But basically, I'm just trying to get as much like activity down there as possible. Just the Mo, 135 degrees what? Oh, Fahrenheit temperature. I just finished hanging and I found blood. I think it's from the pee hole. Well, you might have an internal hematoma or rupture. It's not anything really serious, but You're going to need at least 2 weeks off to let it heal, and you need to figure out why it happened. So whether it was too much weight, too much time without a break, or just unluck. But the key thing is to not freak out when you're injured, because it'll only make the symptoms worse most of the time. And don't worry, urine itself is actually sterile, so it's not really going to mess with you all that much. Just keep the, urethra clean, and you won't have many issues from my understanding. Sorry, I am paying for that Vigor invoice now. Nice. Okay. So that'll be here next week. If you guys care, Vigor Unflavored will be on Amazon sometimes next week. I don't know if I'm going to have enough stock to have anything on LeviathanSups.com, but we'll play it by ear. Yeah, just fire away in the chat, guys. There's 16 of you on this 9:50 Eastern Time random stream. That is a good question. Sorry, I'm on the Discord right now and someone tagged me. So the question was why do we only have 10 milligrams of zinc in virility when Hank recommends 50? I'm going to have to ask him that right now, actually. Milligrams of zinc instead of 50. But yeah, I really don't have anything planned, guys, so this stream is up to you. Da-da-da. Okay. We got a few questions. Let's see. Where are they? Okay. JM. I literally just found you while researching this topic, gained a subscriber and a like. Where should a total newbie and go to start, bud? So, my subreddit r/gettingbigger, one of the posts is going to be like newbie start here. And it's going to have literally like a crash course of everything penis enlargement from 2019 onwards. That's going to be your best bet. Additionally, I have a manuals only routine on my Pornhub. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but that'll have a good quick start for you as well. Also, due to high intensity girth work, we're back to Nico. Done after the few years. My PP skin is much darker than the rest of my body. Same here. Even with 2 years of rest, I didn't go back to baseline. Any real permanent fix. So, the best way to describe how to fix discoloration is that you're kind of diluting the staining. So, a little bit of blood's going to be trapped under the skin, and as your skin sheds, some of that trapped blood's going to shed with it. But let's say it takes 10 cycles of skin sheds to remove 50% of the skin, or of the discoloration rather. It's going to take 5 times as long to get it down to about like 1 to 2%. So that's just based off of like half-lives, right? These will be 50% every time it the discolor fades. So you will immediately drop to like half discoloration, but then it'll be like 25% discoloration, 12.5, 6, 3, 1, 0.5%. So that's how it would happen. So what you need to do is speed up the amount of times you cycle through a skin layer. And you can also do toners as well. One of my mods, and he's kind of like my number 2, Red. He said toners helped him a lot as well for like makeup and cosmetics, I believe. So that might be up your alley. But from my understanding, you want to do light skin peels relatively often once you're done with PE. I already pump every day, says Shisui, for 30 minutes or more. How much clamping can I do without overworking and increasing the risk of injury? Is 10 minutes of soft clamping before extending and pumping okay? I would just do your soft clamping right after pumping, because that way you're kind of locking in that over expansion, and then you're going to get a decent bit of extra stretch of these blood vessels, and it just feels awesome in my opinion. So, but yeah, you don't need more than 10 minutes if you're already pumping and extending that day. When using heat, ask Beach Slap, what percentage of post-session elongation is required to see growth? That's a good question. I didn't really know how much heat impacted like stretch, but we got to look at this from a molecular level. Collagen is just a protein. When we stretch out collagen, what we're doing is breaking down the little hydrogen bonds inside the collagen to break down the structure just a tad. Heat causes those bonds to break more easily. So the same metrics without heat will work the same way with heat. So you want to be 4 to 6% with heat in your target elongation, and then or target strain rate, and the fatigue's going to be about the same. You might be able to stretch a little more if you're super heated after your session, just because it's going to be melted a bit, like literally melted a bit. That's why we're using heat. So I would pay more attention to the strain rate rather than fatigue rate in that case. I've even tried tretinoin, but it just made my skin super dry and itchy, but no changes in discoloration. I use Tretri. I can't say drugs, guys. I use the compound that Nico talked about, but that was more for like acne scarring when I was a teenager. It is a very harsh compound. So like they start you at like 0.25%, and then they'll slowly work your way up. My sister is much paler than me. She could only do 0.25% and she'd still get dry skin. I was able to get to like 1% with a bit of dry skin. So it would technically work, but I still think you're better off of just like actual skin peel products, because we're not really treating scarring, we're treating discoloration. So you're not going to be like peeling back thick fibrous layers of collagen. Isn't it better to avoid hanging since it adds degree to the erection and lowers the point, making it harder to hit the cervix? I mean, I think people overestimate how much you're changing the erection angle when you're not doing between the cheeks. So like, first of all, though, you're not really trying to target the cervix. You're trying to go up, or like up into the interior fornix or down into the posterior fornix if you have enough length. So the real thing is you want to have kind of a strong suspensory ligament, so that way you can still keep the penis going at whatever angle you desire. And hanging would actually make the ligament stronger, therefore you'd be able to target those erogenous zones easier. So if anything, hanging would be a benefit for hitting those pleasure zones without the added size. Flyzak, is a pump in Apex every day too much for a beginner? It all depends on how much you're doing. You could do the Apex for 20 minutes and pump for 10 to 15 minutes, and you'd be fine. I might switch you to every other day, though, if you're one of my clients. Speaking of which, I gotta answer a few of those in a bit. Okay. What do I prefer, compression or vacuum hanging? This is really just going to come down to personal preference. I prefer vacuum hanging because when I first started PE, my turkey neck was much bigger. If you don't know what a turkey neck is, it is the skin that would attach your scrotum to your penis. And since I had a relatively tight circumcision, mine was much higher. So the male hanger would pinch it. It would hurt really bad. So that's the reason why I don't use it. But I know some guys that just straight up can't use a vacuum hanger because they get blisters so easily. And then I know people like myself that can't use compression hangers because of how their skin is. So you really just gotta kind of guess what's best for you. And then honestly, you should have both, but I'm not gonna push you one way or the other. Is the zinc in the form of glyphosate for your product? Let's find out. It is in zinc citrate, Wabisca. And as we talked about tretinoin, if that's how you say it, again, forgive me, guys. The dosage is too high. That's why you're getting dry skin. You need to use a lower amount or do... Yeah, and you just said the tret was working anyway. That's why your skin was dry, but you're just using too much. Sishui, give a like to this live stream. Yeah, that'd be great, but I don't really care for likes and subscribers all that much. But thank you for reminding me. Armin, what's the fastest growth you saw in a short time from someone? Well, if you guys were here for the live stream yesterday, that guy that gained, 5 centimeters in, 3 to 4 months would have been the fastest I've heard of. But the most I've heard confirmed from someone was about 1.5 inches in less than 9 to 10 months. He was on healing compounds though, and he's a bit of a high responder in my opinion, so that could have played into it. But in reality, if you gain anywhere from 3/4 an inch to an inch in your first year, you're doing pretty damn good with PE. Okay, Coco. My question is, how big should you go? What point does it get too big? My girlfriend had pain during sex pre-PE. I've noticed more pain adding 1/2 inch. Well, that kind of answers your question. If your partner's having pain, now this is completely my opinion, but I think it's reasonable, you might want to lay back on penis enlargement, because guess what? You're already at her limit. Sex should be nothing but pleasure for both of you. And if you're limiting her pleasure due to your own desire for a new size, make sure that your reasoning for new size is not just because you feel insecure and it's because you actually want to be this big. To me, I am stopping when my wife says enough is enough. She has not said that yet, but we also have a financial interest for me to continue to get bigger. So you ideally should talk about your long-term partners about how big they can handle, right? If you're serious about this. I know a lot of guys still don't even tell their partners about it because of either trust issues or just, whatever. But yeah, I think it's an important conversation to have if you really want to get to some ridiculous sizes. Andre Noval, is it true that higher Hg leads to more edema? Yes. So your corpus cavernosum can only expand so fast. And the more pressure we use, that means we need to fill that more of a vacuum. So water from under your skin is going to flood the area. For me, my cutoff point is about 10 Hg. When I go beyond 10 Hg, I get much more edema. It's going to depend person to person though. So one of my clients is able to pump up to 12 inches of mercury, no issue, which surprised me to be honest, but everyone's different. So you just got to experiment around with it a bit. I think most guys are going to be comfortable working up between 8 inches of mercury and 10 inches of mercury though. Okay. Androgenic cap. Can you go into how Shilajit may be beneficial for PE if it increases T but decreases dihydrotestosterone, which helps in hair growth? So let's get this out of the way. If you're a fully developed adult, DHT is the least of your concerns when it comes to penis enlargement. It is barking up the wrong tree, essentially. Let me figure out how to explain this. During puberty, we're super sensitive to DHT, but there's these markers in our genetics that say, hey, we made this many penile proteins. We're going to stop making it, tell this hormone system to downregulate so that way we don't have runaway penile protein synthesis. So when you become an adult, that downregulates so much that it would take a huge amount of DHT to even have a difference, to the point where it's going to significantly impact your like prostate health and your hairline. So when we're like talking about supplements, the slight boost in testosterone and blood flow to like your genitals from Shilajit is going to be a much better benefit than the slight decrease in dihydrotestosterone. And I'm not even so sure how much it actually decreases dihydrotestosterone, rather than it just changes the ratio from testosterone being slightly higher in comparison to dihydrotestosterone from baseline. Let's see. Beach slap. I also have a congenital curve, not Peyronie, so I still have fibrosis. What you have is a irregular shape of collagen, and all you got to do is teach it to straighten out. So you might need a little more tissue on one side than the other, but if you do these semi-erect bends, it's going to treat it the same way. It's not going to be nearly as aggressive though as treating Peyronie's. Okay, Shisui, we talked about circumcisions last night. I think I came to the conclusion that you want a low and loose circumcision just for sensation to aesthetics. But again, it's going to be beauties in the eye of the beholder. You just want to make sure you have enough extra skin so that way your frenulum can ruffle. Michael Porter is doing manuals pumping hanging. Okay, is doing manuals pumping hanging too much in one day? It depends on your level. If your routine is taking you over an hour, though, you're probably overdoing it. Jeff, I have a set of your vacuum caps coming. Jeff also told me that I was live via email, so thank you, Jeff. But anyway, I have a set of your vacuum caps coming. Any quick tips as to choosing the correct cup size? I have all three, and tape and no tape. So, as for attaching your cup, I don't know if I have one up here. I do. It's a little dirty, so forgive me. I use a lotion, and that's why this is filthy. Okay, I wash it out before I put it on. But essentially, I cake my glands with lotion, and that's going to act as the barrier from the plastic. That's basically the water method, but just easier on the glands for me, and is a little less messy. I hate using tape, but some people can only use tape because of how sensitive their skin is. As for choosing the right size, get erect, measure around the ridge of your glands. If you're over 5 inches, you're going to be in the big range. If you're between 4 and 5, you're going to be in the medium range. And if you're below 4, you're going to be in the small range. And I have a video on my Pornhub on how to put these on. All three methods: taping, water method, and lotion. Okay. Oko. Sorry, I mean after PE from 6.7 to 7.2 inches. Pain did not increase with my partner, but does she still have pain, right? Because there's a few reasons for like vaginal intercourse pain beyond like hitting the cervix and like overall discomfort from, you know, a large object. Like she could have endometriosis, which is something she would need to get treated medically. It's somewhat dangerous. And she could have like a cyst on her ovary, for example. So like if it's not just you banging her cervix, you might want to have her talk to her OGBYN about it just to be safe. Julian, feel my ball skin encroaches the underside of my shaft a lot. Hiding length. Is this what ball stretches are for? It helps prevent the increase of it. For me though, I've had a lot of success correcting that skin creep with just using an extender instead of just hanging, because that way the skin is tight against the shaft while I'm stretching. You can also use something called the foreclip, which I don't know if I have it up here with me. I am not seeing it, but essentially it's a foreskin restoration device. It clips here, and then you pull the skin here, and that would make your skin stretch along the bottom, therefore pushing your turkey neck back. boy, when would you recommend increasing stretch time? Currently adding one strain set every month. Is this enough, and what is the most optimal amount of time? Dude, these are all subjective questions. If you do not really need to add time as often as we used to think, because what we're trying to do is maximize the amount of stimulus before adaptation, like strength adaptation, that is. So for me, I'm doing every other day sessions, and I'm taking a break every week just to like limit as much strength adaptation as possible. Sorry, he texted me. Okay, I'll answer that in a second. We were talking about what again? Oh, how long you should be stretching. So, on paper, you want to start at about 25 minutes, and then once you get to about the 30 to 40 minutes range, you shouldn't really need more work. But I have some hard gaining clients that need upwards of an hour of work. So, that's why I like the strain and fatigue metrics, because then it kind of gives you a ballpark of how much work you need if you track it. So, some people are going to need 30 minutes to hit 4% fatigue. Other guys are going to need 50 minutes to hit 4% fatigue, just depending on how they're built and how dense their collagen is. So back to the zinc discrepancy between Hink's video and what's in virility. So we dropped it because of potential copper deficiency, which means if we have those two molecules interact pretty much. Hold on. So zinc and copper bind together in the body. So if you have too much zinc, it'll zap the copper from your bloodstream, making you copper deficient. So if you have too much zinc, it can lead to like some blood issues down the line. It's not like a major deal, but that's why we dropped the zinc. And if you have like a normal diet, you're going to be getting probably close to like 25 milligrams of zinc when you take it with virility. Also, remember, we designed this to be able to be safely double dosed. So let's be 20 milligrams of zinc. If anything, now I think about it, we might have wanted to add copper. I'll bring that up to them later if that's a smart idea or not. But yeah, it's mostly just to keep your copper levels from being deficient. Okay, we talked about stretch time. Leo is 7.5 or 7 3/4, so everyone can see how stupid big that is. 7 3/4 by what is that? 6.4. I don't know if I have a good object right around here that's 6.4, but essentially he is huge as of right now. Yeah, I don't have a good object to show. He is looking into getting into extending. In your opinion, should I focus more on length or girth? Well, dude, 6.4 is a lot of girth, especially if you're talking like an actual mid-shaft girth of 6.4. Most porn stars aren't even going to be close to that. So, in my opinion, you should probably work on length, and quite honestly, you might want to like chill a bit until you have a long-term partner, just because it's going to get into the point where it's going to be difficult to find partners that will be able to take you comfortably unless they're into size, which, there's sites for it and it's not that big of a deal. But, just play it safely. I would focus on length at this current moment. Androgenic cap. Would taking collagen daily and doing PE with the apex and interval increase growth faster? No. So, sure, it would help to make sure that you have enough, amino acids in your system, but if you have a high protein diet, you're going to have enough collagen peptides in your system already. The problem with PE is that since the tunica albuginea is in a vascular tissue, it does not get nearly as much nutrients as, say, a muscle would when it comes to recovery and repair. So it's going to heal slower and it's going to take longer to build up mass. So even if we doubled our collagen intake, it's going to have minimal effect on reshaping the tunica. Shui, you're going to need, or Shui, I'm sorry. Opinion on dynamic tension adjustment. Is it legit? You're going to have to explain to me what that is. Punch bag guy, thoughts on Follicin Forte for overnight use? Don't. Okay. So I hate that about the Follicin, saying it's safe enough to wear overnight, and nothing is safe enough to wear overnight. It is going to mess with your nocturnal erections, and if you're not careful, you could easily wake up with a massive blister. You could easily wake up with your head purple because it cut off circulation. It's honestly malpractice that they do, or market that. And yeah, Hank, I accidentally turned on my live stream when I was paying the Vigor invoice, so I'm stopped doing this for another 10 minutes or so. What kind of routines are in your girth book? Are there pump only routines? So, since I was not 100% certain with like what routines are best, I set up a hybrid method, which is going to be like more traditionally based pumping. Then I set up the BD recommended method, which is going to be like my new age stuff. And then I'll have a clamping only / manuals only routine, as well as a Bathmate Hydromax based routine. So there's going to be 4 routines. It already covers everyone, but I might look into like changing some of the methodologies later as I get more certain with everything else. If that makes sense. That's why I made it a live document, so that way you guys always are up to date with it. And you can get my books at peakmalphysique.com. Shameless plug. Okay. Oko. She actually has less pain after PE. I was worried PE would be an issue. I would attribute her to being more aroused by the size. I'm wondering how far to go with PE. Okay, let's roll this back. I think a lot of guys misunderstand women in general when it comes to this. They are not necessarily turned on by the size. So like you went from what, 6.7 to 7.2. That is a sizable increase, but it's not like a huge difference, right? It'd be like the difference going from a D cup to double Ds. Both of them are big boobs, right? So what my argument is that she's probably more attracted to the amount of confidence you're now bringing to the bedroom rather than your actual size. So if you want to get bigger, that's fine, but I don't think it's really changing your sex life all that much rather than the confidence that the added size is giving you. I really appreciate the 5 minutes of interval vacuum hanging that you taught me about, brother. You are welcome, Salvi. Yeah, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's just I'm doing what the science says, and science points to the more sets you do, the more fatigue you get, therefore the faster you can grow. That's really it. Punch bag, thank you. I've got good games with manual. You said 30 minutes should be enough for all experience levels. Is there a need for an extender device? I think devices in general just make being consistent much easier, because I could right now put on my Apex and do this live stream and you guys wouldn't even know unless I stood up. So, like, if you have to multitask, you probably want to get a device. And then there'll be a point where you're not going to be able to generate as much tension as with your hand as you would with a device. And just rolling back on you said 30 minutes should be enough for all experience levels. It's going to be 30 to 40 minutes, and then hard gainers are probably going to need more. And you are welcome, or thank you, Hank. I can't read. As a European uncut guy, I don't understand why people in the U.S. get circumcised as babies, how that becomes so normal. It's a really disgusting story. I'll love to tell you about it. I think so many people get into foreskin restoration, so that shows that it's no good. So, this starts in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Dr. James Kellogg, the guy that made Kellogg's cereal here in the United States, was a not even fundamentalist, but he was a devout Christian man, and he believed that pleasure seeking was bad for your health. So he was able to convince a whole bunch of doctors, and more importantly parents, that if you circumcise your children, they'll be less likely to be sexual deviants later. Now, there are some benefits to circumcision, and I think Hank would be a little upset if I didn't bring it up. One of the main reasons is that it dramatically cuts down the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, and this is why it is so popular with like older religions to have circumcision be in the forefront, because a lot of these older religions would have rules to keep their population safe. If the foreskin's causing the issues, might as well remove them and get closer to the God in process. But that being said, foreskin restoration, or not foreskin, just circumcision in general is on the way out in the United States. But like, it's more at the point less of it being like a religious thing and more like being a societal pressure thing. They don't want their kid to be the one with the weird dick. Okay. And on a personal note, I was circumcised because Fibrosis runs in my family. So that's when the foreskin gets too tight around the glands and it becomes very uncomfortable, and you might need like immediate surgery if it becomes too tight. So to protect me from that, that's why my parents got me circumcised. I'm not mad at them for doing it. I just wish they didn't, you know? Okay, soft clamping with a paracord. What the hell's a paracord? Okay, do not clamp with a rope. Who is this? Paul Durin. You're actually probably better off using like flat rubber bands before you use a rope. Okay? We're not trying to hang our penis like that, if you catch my drift. Okay, hey Beatty. I started to get so insecure about my size. I recently... Oh, wait, sorry. It's too early in the morning for this. Hey BD, I started to get so insecure about my size recently that I can't get a proper erection anymore because I don't feel like I'm worthy enough. Alright, dude. So, this is at the point where if your insecurity is being so crippling to you that it would make sense to see a therapist about this. You can do all the penis enlargement you want, but like if you can't get past your own mental hang-ups, you need to seek help. This stuff is a band-aid solution. So like it might make you feel good in the moment, but like that insecurity is still going to be in the back of your mind and it might just manifest somewhere else. So for right now, you need to learn how to relax. This sounds like an anxiety issue to me, coming from the low self-worth that you have. So first step is clearing your mind and then piecing together why you feel the way you feel. Okay, androgenic cap. If creatine increases DHT, would that benefit beard growth or in addition to daily PE? I don't think it would help beard growth all that much. What really helped my beard growth was taking care of the hair follicles and spurring new ones. So I use minoxidil or Rogaine on my face, and then I would derma roll it in, and that would cause the creation of new hair follicles, like mature hair follicles, because you actually have a bunch of tiny little hair follicles, but if you want them to become terminal, thick and dense, they need more blood flow, and minoxidil increases that blood flow. DHT in that equation causes those hair follicles to mature faster. So it could help a little bit, but in my opinion, just making sure it stays healthy and you actively build up the blood supply to your beard is going to be more beneficial than DHT. And this is coming from a guy that has taken anabolics. The anabolics did not make my beard grow thicker. It was adding beard oil and then doing the minoxidil to build up those follicles. How long have I been going for? Alright, it says 40 minutes here. Okay. I'll stay on for about 10 more minutes, guys, and then I actually got stuff to do. You said a vacuum exercise scared me. I hate edema, fear injury. Do not try vacuum exercise. I use weight with male hanger. Well, Dude, all I'm gonna say is there's gonna be risk with everything involved. Like bench press, you can crush your jugular, tear your pec. Squatting, you can hurt your back, blow out your knees. If you are serious about like weightlifting, you gotta accept these risks. Kind of same thing with PE. With safe practices and like methodologies, not overdoing it, you're pretty damn safe. I've only had 2 injuries, like actual injuries, in 10 years of doing penis enlargement. Both of them were just blisters, okay? And I was down for 2 weeks at most. So if you just take it slow, listen to your body, you're probably going to be okay. How do I train to go raw and vacuum hanging? I get blisters. Well, Slavy, it depends on a few things. One, how often you penis pump, because what I did was I used the bathmate for like 2 years beforehand, so my skin was pretty damn conditioned beforehand. Additionally, it's going to be about the amount of time you wear the device. So I was started at about 5 pounds vacuum hanging, but I would take it off like every 20 minutes just to make sure I wasn't getting a blister. 2 weeks later, I added 10 minutes to like that time without breaks, and eventually I was able to get up to 1 hour before I had to take it off. You should take the device off every hour or so just to make sure nothing's going wrong and you get more blood flow to the glands. But it's really just like a slow burn build up. And like if you have a bit of a pumping background to begin with, it's going to help a lot. And some guys are just going to have very thin gland skin, and that's fine. And that's why they should probably either tape or they should use a compression hanger. Zaffy, should I pump on off days? I'm not saying this is a recommendation, but I've been doing feeder sets on my off days, and I've seen much faster growth. I would not even much faster, but just like a healthier penis in general doing these feeder sets. So that'd be like lower pressure pumping for 10 minutes just to pull more blood in. I noticed slightly better erection quality as well. How do I create more tissue in the corpus cavernosum for my flaccid to become my new size? So he's talking about stretch flaccid. So simply put, you just do traditional girth work. So that'd be pumping and clamping. Because if we're trying to increase endothelial density in the corpus cavernosum, let's work the tissues more, right? So we need to get as much blood holding tissue, so therefore we need to focus on that kind of stimulus. So pumping and the hypoxic clamping is going to be your best bet. Precision, this was an accident. Precision's my assistant, if you guys didn't know, and he shouldn't be spending his paycheck giving it back to me. I was trying to pay the Vigor invoice on here, and then my live streaming software just started without me, so yeah. Would lotion and then putting the glands clamp over be a good idea going into the cup? That's how I do it. You can see exactly how I do it on my Pornhub. Okay, I literally talk about the 3 major methods about keeping your skin safe while vacuum hanging. Can I use normal water instead of lube with the pump? Kinda. What I do is if I'm doing water pumping is that I'll just coat my penis in coconut oil, and then I'll put warm water in the pump just a little bit, and then I'll pump. And that way you still get the easy sliding of, the lubricant, but you still get the added expansion from the water. Do I have any experience with the elliptical cylinder from LA Pump? That came up twice again. I do not have any experience with it. I don't know how much it's needed, but it couldn't hurt. And Precision, thank you for the $2, but I do not want you to donate. I want you to buy my products. Okay, get something for yourself. Because that eventually gets kicked back to me, right? And so with Super Chats, half of it goes to YouTube. If you want to give me more money, buy product, right? But that's neither here nor there. I don't need your money, guys. Thank you, brother, for your patience and resilience. I appreciate you've answered my question. I've only vacuum hanged for 5 minutes, like how you taught. You are welcome. When will you be online again? Well, at this rate, I don't know, because it might just randomly start and stop again. So we will go from there. And Flyzak, thank you for the purchase of the book. If you have any issues, you can email us or post on the Reddit. Just don't be one of the guys that post the routines publicly, please. It's not like you can't find the routines anyway. Publicly, it's just like that kind of defeats the purpose of the book if you're taking screenshots and sharing them around, right? But thank you all for your support, guys. I think I gotta go unless I get a few more questions. So I will talk to you guys later. Right, let's see. I will buy your product. Okay, you guys are just talking about my products now. Have a good day, guys. I will see you in the next one.